Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Parikshit Luthra. Here are the headlines we are tracking this evening. Sensex and Nifty hit their highest level in a month. Nifty reclaims 22,800. All sectoral indices end with healthy gains. Rupee rallies against the dollar. The ceasefire in Gaza breaks down. More than 400 Palestinians are killed in a fresh wave of Israeli airstrikes. Israel's Prime Minister blames the lack of progress in truce talks. Hamas calls it a treacherous attack on defense-less civilians.
With the right support from Allianz as and when required, but fully empowered board and management, and as a result, no, we don't need another partner.
Bajaj and Allianz part ways, ending a 24-year alliance. Bajaj, Finserv and promoter groups will acquire Allianz's 26% stake in life and general insurance JVs for over 24,000 crore rupees. Sanjeev Bajaj says Bajaj will go solo and does not need a partner. Adds there will be no change in leadership. Allianz will be released from the non-compete clause once the first tranche of the transaction is completed. LIC all set to foray into health insurance. CEO Siddharth Mohanty says discussions in final stages to buy stake in a health insurer. Clarifies that LIC will not hold a majority stake. Get ready to pay more to fly in and out of Mumbai. Adani proposes an expansion plan to increase capacity, seeks to more than triple the user development fee for international passengers and introduce a 325 rupee fee for domestic passengers. Airport tariff regulator yet to take a final call. Competition watchdog raids the premises of top advertising agencies and the Indian Broadcasting and Digital Foundation. Sources say the raids pertain to allegations of price fixing and collusion. Government sets up a panel to address regulatory challenges faced by the fintech sector. The new committee will bring all stakeholders together, signalling a concerted effort to streamline regulations and promote innovation. Aircraft maker Boeing is all in on India, says senior executive Brendan Nelson. Admits tariff wars will have a cash impact, but adds Boeing will be okay. Hopes a trade deal between India and the United States will help Boeing's business in India. That's an exclusive. Google parent company Alphabet strikes a $32 billion deal to acquire cybersecurity startup Wiz. The all-cash deal is Google's largest ever as it aims to bolster its cloud computing business. Over 50 people detained and 5 cases registered after violence in Nagpur. Vehicles were torched and 4 police personnel were injured after rumors that a holy book was desecrated during a demonstration by right-wing outfits, including Bajrang Dal. Chief Minister Fadnavis says the violence was pre-planned. Shares of Chinese electric car maker BYD hit a record high after it claims a new technology can charge the car almost as quickly as it takes to fill petrol. Claims the new technology can achieve 400 kilometers of range with just 5 minutes of charging. NASA astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore are heading back to Earth on a SpaceX capsule. They have been stranded at the International Space Station for 9 months after the failure of the Boeing capsule which took them to space. Let's start with the stock market action. A strong rebound on Dalal Street as Sensex and Nifty posted their biggest single-day rally in nearly 2 months. Sensex gained over 1,100 points to move back above the 75,000 mark. All sectoral indices end in with healthy gains today. Nifty Bank Index gained nearly 2%. The mid-cap index added more than 1,000 points. In the money market, the rupee continues to regain lost ground against the US dollar. The rupee gained over 23 paise today as the dollar index remains under pressure. The rupee was one of the strongest emerging market currencies today. The rally has come after the February trade data showed India is likely to post a current account surplus in Q4. 10-year sovereign bond prices also perked up in trade, leading to a drop in the yields. Crude oil prices gained 1% owing to rising tensions in West Asia and weakness in the US dollar index. An improvement in China's retail sales also sparked hopes of demand revival and supported prices. Meanwhile, gold prices hit record highs. This as investors sought cover from economic concerns fueled by US President Donald Trump's tariff policies. The big story of the day, Bajaj will buy out Allianz's stake in its life and general insurance businesses. This brings the curtains down on a 24-year alliance. Bajaj Finserv and promoter groups will be acquiring Allianz's 26% stake in the insurance arms for over 24,000 crore rupees. The transaction will give the Bajaj Group 100% ownership in both the companies. The deal is subject to regulatory approvals. CNBC TV18 spoke to Sanjeev Bajaj, the chairman and managing director of Bajaj Finserv, exclusively earlier today. Calling the deal a win-win, Sanjeev Bajaj said that both partners reinforce their strategic intent for India, but with different paths. Allianz has said it will use the sales proceeds to support the company's strategic ambitions in India. He emphasized that they are going to walk solo as far as the insurance business is concerned. He said that they have a fully empowered board and management and do not need any more partners. Sanjeev Bajaj also asserted that the same leadership team will continue steering the businesses as well.
Once the first tranche of the shares are bought by Bajaj, post all the nationally regulatory approvals, the cancellation of the JV and stuff, we release Allianz from the non-compete, so then they are free to go ahead and get into binding agreements in India. This was their desire and one of their asks, and we completely understand that as a large player. And that's why I think the discussion, the negotiations have been such that it's created a win-win on both sides. We are very clear that given the capabilities that have been built in both our companies now, almost 24 years old, both the companies are perfectly capable on going solo. Effectively, as I said, the board has been running both the companies, a board that is controlled by Bajaj, and with the right support from Allianz as and when required, but fully empowered board and management. And as a result, no, we don't need another partner. If you also see the Indian insurance space in the last decade or so, this is not new. There have been multiple companies, including most of the leading companies, where the Indian promoter has gone solo, and most of those businesses have actually even done better. So firstly, as I said, a board of both the insurance companies controlled by Bajaj has been running the business for over a decade, and there is going to be no change, I can tell you, on the ground. Day-to-day competitive activity continues, but there is going to be no significant change. As far as Rajiv Jain is concerned, we have a board meeting coming up later this week, and Rajiv is fully committed to the group and the business, and the board will evaluate. As we know, his term comes to an end of March. The board is evaluating next steps, and you will hear about it soon.
And you can catch the entire conversation with Bajaj Finserv CMD Sanjeev Bajaj at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC TV18. And staying with the insurance space, LIC is set to enter the health insurance space. Company CEO Siddhartha Mohanty told CNBC TV18 that LIC will make an announcement about its foray by the end of this month. However, he clarified that LIC will not hold a majority stake in the health insurer where it invests.
Health insurance, definitely we are proposal discussion is going on at final stage. So, and that is a natural choice for LIC to be in health insurance. Yeah. Within this financial, because regulatory approval takes time, and I am very much hopeful within this financial, before 31st March, I think some decision can be taken. It will be not a majority stake, means there will not be, LIC will not have 51% stake.
So it will be a minority stake?
No, it will not have 51% stake.
And shares of PB Fintech surged nearly 8% in trade after the company announced plans to invest nearly 700 crore rupees into its healthcare subsidiary. Speaking to CNBC TV18, PB Fintech Group CEO Yashish Dahiya clarified that the company's stake in the healthcare venture will not cross 25 to 26%. He added that shareholders investing in PB Health must not do so only for profits, but for a purpose.
By the time round 1A and 1B are over, because it's done in 1A and 1B, I think PB Fintech would be down to about 25-26%. Financial return is not the sole driver for Policy Bazaar either. The primary objective of Policy Bazaar is to grow insurance penetration in India, specifically in health insurance and term insurance.
IndusInd International has completed the acquisition of bankrupt Reliance Capital. Speaking to the media, chairman of the Hinduja Group, Ashok Hinduja, announced a foray into insurance through acquisition.
taking this into account, our ambition now is coming to the fulfillment of the entire BFSI sector. So we are now after this acquisition, we will get into the insurance, we will have the bank, then the opportunity came for the mutual fund again. So Invesco, we took about 60% of entered into an arrangement with them. Application is already gone, and we are expecting in a few weeks to get the approval. And post-approval, I think we will cover the whole BFSI sector.
EdTech unicorn PhysicsWallah has confidentially filed draft papers for an initial public offering. According to a money control report, the company is looking to raise 4,600 crore rupees. The IPO will largely consist of a fresh issue of shares, which will also include an offer for sale component for selling investors. Tata Motors has said it will increase prices across its passenger vehicle range from April. The price hike will also be applicable to electric vehicles. The auto major says that it is increasing prices to partially offset the impact of rising input costs. The extent of the hike will vary depending on the model and variant. The announcement comes a day after the company announced an up to 2% price hike in its commercial vehicle segment. Bharti Enterprises chairman Sunil Bharti Mittal is considering increasing his holding in British Telecom Group. According to a Financial Times report, Mittal had acquired 24.5% stake in the UK telecom giant last year. The report also stated that he is in the process of converting his current stake, which was partially acquired through derivatives, into equity. The British firm is currently undergoing a cost-cutting and restructuring phase under Chief Executive Alison Kirby. And get ready to pay more to fly in and out of Mumbai. Adani Group, which runs the airport, has proposed an expansion plan to increase capacity. It is seeking to more than triple the user development fee for international passengers and introduce a 325 rupee fee for domestic passengers. Airport traffic regulator is yet to take a final call. Madhiya Mujawar is here with the latest. Madhiya, what is the Adani Group proposing here?
Well, Adani Airport submitted this tariff proposal for Mumbai Airport on the 17th of March, where they have specified the tariff they want. They had submitted the detailed expansion plan with the Airport Economic Regulatory Authority, the ERA, and had put up a consultation paper on the 10th of March based on the airport's proposed expansion plan. The capex, the revenue it projects, the tariff increase it would need, everything was included in that consultation paper. In the proposal, Mumbai Airport had proposed a capital expenditure of 17,439 crores, revenue target of 38,724 crores for the fourth control period from 2025 to 2029, and a hike of 675% in aeronautical tariffs. But ERA had slashed the capex to 7,800 crores. Target revenue was slashed from 38,000 crores to 7,600 crores, and tariff increase was slashed from 675% proposed to 18%, and ERA asked the airport operator to submit its tariff plan accordingly. But in its tariff proposal submitted on the 17th of March, Adani Airports has hiked the UDF from 0 to 325 rupees per passenger for domestic flights, and from 187 rupees to 650 rupees per passenger for international flights. So that's an increase of over 300% on the domestic side and 250% on the international side. But this may not necessarily be the final rates, as this is also a proposal by Mumbai Airport, Adani Airports. It will go through stakeholder consultation. There is a meeting scheduled on the 25th of March, and only after that the airport's Economic Regulatory Authority will approve or finalize the final tariffs. Whether it will be slightly less or very less, we will know once ERA takes the final decision. The Mumbai Airport, meanwhile, in a press release stated that it has proposed to lower the landing and parking charges for airlines to offset the impact on passengers, but that will also only happen if airlines are willing to pass that relief to passengers.
All right. Thank you very much, Madhiya Mujawar, for joining us. Let's move on and get you the big international story now. Israel has launched a series of strikes in central Gaza, killing over 400 people and shattering a fragile ceasefire that began in January. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the attack was in response to refusal to release hostages and rejection of all ceasefire proposals. Israeli defense forces have said it was targeting what it called terror targets belonging to Hamas. Palestinian health officials reported that many of the dead were children. The strikes come weeks after failed negotiations between Israel and Hamas over the remaining 59 hostages still held in Gaza. Hamas has condemned the provocation, calling it unprovoked. The militant group added that Israel has now put the fate of hostages in jeopardy. Ukraine has insisted that it will not compromise on its territorial integrity despite its desire for a peaceful resolution to its conflict with Russia. Speaking at the Raisina dialogue in Delhi, Ukraine Foreign Minister said that Kyiv is only interested in an unconditional ceasefire. He added that Ukraine will resist if Russia denies the proposal. US President Donald Trump has announced that Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit Washington soon. This comes amid escalating trade disputes between the two nations. Addressing the media, Trump said, and I quote, he will be coming in the not-too-distant future, end of quote. If this happens, the visit will mark the first meeting between the two leaders since Donald Trump's return to the White House.
We had the head of China coming in to top people right underneath President Xi, and he'll be coming in the not-too-distant future. When we had India last week, we had France last week, we had a lot of people. We had Ireland, we had UK, and they come in, and I say, how's it looking? They say, oh, it looks much better.
The government has set up a committee to examine the regulatory issues that the fintech sector is facing. Government sources have said that the panel will submit the report in 3 months from the first meeting. The panel will comprise high-level officials from multiple government departments, regulatory bodies and fintech startups. The main aim of the panel will be to streamline regulations and promote innovation in the sector. From Zerodha to MobiKwik, top fintech executives have been clamoring for an easier regulatory regime.
When you're sitting here in Delhi or Bombay and we are passing regulations and or taking action, we think positive or negative, we don't realize that the people who look at companies like us, whether it is private or public, how they think about these decisions and what they understand and comprehend, because it becomes like a pretty big black box where the clear conclusion for a lot of people is maybe the regulators and the government don't want fintech.
The thing what the regulator, especially SEBI, wants the brokers to do is to earn money only from brokerage and not from anything else. And since the entire industry is used to earning in a certain way, which is like a sum of all the parts, so it's going to be a big challenge especially for, I mean, I don't say incumbents, but then someone who has benefited the entire broking industry, it would be a challenge.
And Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has said that Starlink must meet all application guidelines to secure a license in India. Speaking to Money Control, Scindia added that the government remains open to competition in the satellite broadband sector. However, Starlink must check all the boxes to acquire its license. He also said that the TRAI is expected to announce spectrum pricing soon. After that, the government will allocate spectrum based on TRAI's recommendations. Telecom giants Airtel and Jio platforms have both announced partnerships with SpaceX to bring Starlink into India. And coming up on India Business Hour, competition watchdog rates the premises of top advertising agencies and the Indian Broadcasting and Digital Foundation. More details in some time. And you can also catch all CNBC TV 18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. Boeing's senior vice president Brendan Nelson has said that India is emerging as a superpower and the airline giant is doing all they can to grow their presence in the country. Speaking exclusively to Shireen Bhan, Nelson reiterated that the company is all in as far as India is concerned and they are working with the government to build a world-class aero centre. He also admitted that tariff wars will have a cash impact but said Boeing will be okay. He also hopes a trade deal between India and the US will help Boeing's business in India.
In order to have a final assembly line, and Boeing does not build planes outside the United States. We make them in the United States. They're proudly American with lots of Indian components, and then we sell them out to the rest of the world. But we do know that in the longer term, that India is on a journey. We are on that journey with India. And when you finally, if the decision is reached about a final assembly line, it will require the demand for the aircraft that are going to be built. Not just, I mean, India's market will quadruple over the next, the size of the fleet will quadruple over the next 20 years, 2,800 more planes. But we will also, you would also need demand from regional buyers for those planes. We'll see. The introduction of tariffs by the United States, by the new administration, and the responses to those tariffs by other countries and markets throughout the world, of course it represents a challenge to us. It will obviously have a cash impact on us. We believe that we can manage this. We're confident that we can deal with this, and we're confident that we will continue to grow. President Trump and President Modi have foreshadowed a fair trade agreement between India and the United States, and we very much, we think that what we do is a foundation for it and something that we hope we can build upon in that fair trade agreement.
And you can catch the full conversation with Brendan Nelson, Senior Vice President at Boeing Company at 10 p.m. right here on CNBC TV 18. The Competition Commission is conducting raids. That's right, the raids are happening at top advertising firms over alleged price fixing. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that CCI officers conducted raids at approximately 10 locations in Delhi and Mumbai. Shivani Gharat is joining us now with the details. Shivani, what are you picking up?
So yes, CCI today launched significant investigations into alleged price fixing and discount collusion by top broadcasters and advertising agencies. In fact, officers from CCI conducted raids at approximately 10 locations, as you mentioned, including offices of several global advertising giants such as Group M, which is a part of WPP, and Dentsu as well. The raids also targeted the Indian Broadcasting and Digital Foundation, which is like a key industry group or body representing broadcaster interest, and also ISA or Indian Society of Advertisers. Now, sources close to the situation suggest that a team of police officers accompanied by the Competition Commission of India officials arrived at several of these locations early in the morning to question the leadership on some of the key these key advertising agencies. The central issue over here appears to be price fixing, with sources suggesting that either a large advertiser or a small advertising agency may have filed a complaint that triggered the investigation. So what exactly is price fixing in advertising? I'll tell you. In simple terms, price fixing occurs when multiple companies collude to set price at an agreed level rather than allowing the market to determine them through competition. Another common form of price fixing would also involve collusion over discounts and promotional rates. We tried reaching out to several of these agency heads and CEOs, and none of these, in fact, were forthcoming with more details and what exactly has happened. They haven't responded to our inquiries, our mails, or our messages as yet. Many of the fellow industry veterans, however, have reacted to this, on the condition of anonymity, that the complexity of media buying landscape currently and the rapidly changing nature of this market right now, in this market, often making pricing practices, it makes it more complicated than it meets the eye or at the first glance. Many said that rather than focusing on accusations of price fixing, the focus should be on improving transparency and standardizing pricing practices across the industry. This would ensure that there is fair competition without any of these unnecessary punitive measures.
All right. Thank you very much, Shivani Gharat, for explaining the issue so comprehensively. So we're yet to hear a formal statement from the CCI and a formal statement from the parties who have been raided as well. Moving on, Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav stressed on the need for developing India's very own large language models to surge ahead in the global AI marathon. Speaking exclusively to Shreen Ban at the Raisina Dialogue, Vaishnav, however, cautioned that it was too early to talk about a return over investments when it comes to AI. OpenAI's chief economist Ronnie Chatterjee said that AI could give an ROI in the next 5 years. Vinod Dham, the founder of Indo-US Venture Partners, said that India would need an investment in the range of $50 to $100 billion to build a robust AI infrastructure.
It's very expensive to build by the way, models, LLMs. So we don't need to spend billions of dollars that Ronnie has spent already. We can just leverage that and then build models in our multilingual languages in a hybrid approach. MIT came up with $30 billion funding for semiconductor program. I think AI will need a similar kind of funding for next 3 years, $50, $100 billion type of investment to really run this marathon and stay competitive in this marathon.
Getting our own GPU chip, that's very, very important. And we have already started working on it, working with the industry, evaluating different options that we have. If it's open source today, it may not remain open source tomorrow, which we have seen in the case of OpenAI. I think we should also change the name. So better to have our own LLM. I don't think we should be shying away from that.
Well, now you can take a picture of that child, right, in a privacy-controlled way and estimate the weight very precisely, which allows a healthcare worker without visiting that village to figure out whether the child is underweight and needs further medical attention. It's those kinds of innovations that can make the impact you're talking about. They don't require massive infrastructure investments yet, but they can be really useful. So this is kind of where I see a lot of opportunity here. If India decides also that this AI infrastructure bet is one they want to make, that's fantastic as well. But in the US, as we saw it, based on where the models are going, we think the return on investment is going to be very positive in the next 5 years.
All right, let's move on. Google signed a definitive agreement to acquire cloud security startup Wiz for $32 billion in an all-cash deal. This will be tech giant's largest ever acquisition, and Wiz will now become a part of Google's cloud business. In a statement, Google said that the acquisition will help Wiz make their solutions better and more scalable. The acquisition comes at a time Google's cloud business is trailing behind Amazon and Microsoft. Chinese electric vehicle maker BYD has unveiled a new system for electric cars that it said could make it possible for EVs to charge as quickly as it takes to refill a fuel tank. The company has claimed that its new battery and charging system is capable of providing 470 kilometers of range in 5 minutes of charging. The manufacturer will start selling vehicles with the new technology next month. The auto major also announced for the first time that it would build a charging network across China. The two NASA astronauts who were stranded aboard the International Space Station from June 2024 are finally on their way back to Earth. This comes 9 months after the failure of Boeing's pioneering Starliner capsule delayed their return. A SpaceX Dragon capsule containing 4 astronauts, including Starliner's test pilots Sunita Williams and Barry Wilmore, has undocked from the space station. The spacecraft is scheduled for a splashdown somewhere off the Florida coast after a 70-hour descent. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. News continues right here on CNBC TV 18.